here we are back in the workshop, but this time looking at the 190. So this has had some rust in the rear wheel arch, and it's been getting worse for quite a long time now. So you can just about see it there, and it started off with a little bubble. It's got worse and worse. And also I removed this piece of trim, and you can see that the rust has actually started to penetrate here, and looking further down, quite bad, some of the rust around here. I was hoping not to have to weld, but I think I'm going to need to do some welding just to tidy that up. So I've got some bits to do the job. So the first thing is this Hydrate 80, which I'm going to put on once I've removed the rust. Hopefully that will cure the rust and convert it back to something that I can then paint over. I've got some body filler just to smooth the repair off. I've got some primer in here to go over the filler, ready for putting the paint on. I've also got some paint, and this paint is supposedly matched to the colour of the car. The original colour has faded a little bit, and this one also is supposed to be a faded version of that blue, but we'll see how that goes. And then finally, the clear coat to go on top of the metallic paint. I've also got a range of different grades of sandpaper, right down to 2500 grade, and also a Scotch pad as well. So I'm no bodywork expert at all, but I thought I'd give it a go and see how it turns out. I've now taken quite a bit of that rust off, and the area that's going to need to be filled and sprayed is quite a bit bigger, but at least there doesn't seem to be any holes there. This one down the side here isn't too bad, but at the bottom here it is really quite rusty, even to the point of having some holes. So what I think I'm going to do is to cut that bottom bit out, but I'm going to leave these lower bits here still in because they're not too rusty, and I think trying to weld around the inside of that wheel arch is not going to be very easy. I've brought the car outside now just to hose off all the dust from the paint and the rust, and you can see now the cleaned up rust patch on the arch. I've tried to feather that paint a little bit just to smooth down all the layers of paint to get a better finish. It's not something I've had very much success with in the past, but I'm trying to take my time over this and get it right. And then down here you can see the other area of rust, and at the bottom there where it was really rusty, I thought it's better to cut that metal out, and I'll weld in a new piece of metal just to fill that hole up. So the next thing is to bring the car back into the garage, let it dry off, and then apply the Hydrate 80. While I wait for the car to dry off, I thought I'd have a look at making up this patch to fill over the hole that I had to cut out because it was so rusty. So there's the hole, and on the floor there is the piece of metal that I cut out, and on the right hand side is the new piece of metal. So I've made that out of a bit of galvanized steel that I had. I've tried to shape it to fit the hole, and I've also drilled a hole in it, which is where one of the clips for the trim will go. So if we have a look at the hole again, you can see we'll just fit in there, and it should just be a case now of welding that up and putting some sealant around the back and painting it. So I'm now ready to start applying the Hydrate 80. I've given the patches a final rub down and a degrease, and they're now ready. So that one on the wheel arch is ready to go, and then down here I've now welded in that piece of metal, and I've put some filler over the joints just to smooth it off, and I'll sand that down once I've done the Hydrate 8. So there's the little tub, and I've got this paintbrush, and I just now need to just start working this in to the rusty metal. It's been about 18 hours since I put the Hydrate 80 onto the panel, and it seems to have cured now. I've got some halogen heaters on it just to try and raise the temperature a little bit, but it's ready now to have some filler applied onto it just to smooth out any of the small pits from where the rust was. And I've got some body filler over here which I'm going to mix up and then apply to the arch. So I put 4 coats of primer onto the panel. I've rubbed it down and I'm now letting it dry with a halogen heater, ready to put the first coat of the blue colour on, and I'm probably going to put about 3 coats of that on. So I've now put 3 coats of the blue on the rear arch, and it's quite matte at the moment, but I'm going to try and fade that into the existing blue paint and then put some clear coat on the top, and hopefully that will shine it up a little bit. So with the paper and the masking tape removed, the finish is okay, but it's a little bit rough where the clear coat that I put on meets the clear coat that was on the car already. So what I want to do next is just to flatten it off a little bit, just to try and make it shiny all the way along that panel. So to do that, I've got some of this Scratch X 2.0 to try and rub that in. It's a bit like teacup, but it's a little bit finer. And if that's not enough, then I've got some 2500 grade wet and dry that I'll use first, and then I'll try the Scratch X again. There's the wheel arch now. I've flattened it off, got rid of some of that orange peel and merged in the new clear coat with the old a little bit better than it was before. It's still a little bit orange peely in places. I could probably flat that down with a 2500 and then go over it with a polish again, but I think I'm going to leave it where it is just in case I mess it up.